Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up, the new Alert Carolina gets its first real test as severe weather rumbles across the state. Did it work? We'll have the answers.
Where were you? UNC students remember where they were on 9/11.
In sports, we'll update you on an injured football player and take a look at the new head coach.
What do we know about the freshman class? They're very, very smart. We've got the numbers to prove it. Good evening, I'm Kathleen Whitty.
Hi everyone, I'm Preston Jones. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
More weather. We've seen just about everything lately, and this time it's thunderstorms and tornadoes rumbling across North Carolina. Not much damage around here or the state, but there are plenty of weather watches and warnings and alerts for much of the day Tuesday. The bad weather brought rain, wind, and thunder, but it also brought emails, text messages, and sirens. It was an unexpected test for the newly updated Alert Carolina system. So how did it do? Department of Public Safety spokesman Randy Young calls it a success.
We believe that the vast majority of the campus was alerted to these and was well aware of the situation, and that really is our goal.
Although the students and faculty were informed, many were confused about what to do with that information. Several went to a basement and away from windows to wait out the storm. But several professors didn't know if class was supposed to be canceled. Randy Young says the problem is ignorance of protocol.
It states fairly unambiguously on the Alert Carolina literature and the website that really when the sirens go off, it is a shelter-in-place scenario.
But he also says they'll fix this problem too.
That's the kind of thing that we'll look at in assessing this program, and we'll try and do a better job in communicating a more exacting and pervasive level of response so that everybody's on the same page.
Young told me that the Alert Carolina system is reevaluated after every single use.
It'll be 10 years Sunday, 10 years since those passenger jets crashed into the Twin Towers in New York, into the Pentagon in Washington, into a lonely field in western Pennsylvania. 9/11, like the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the landing on the moon, the turning of the new century. 9/11 is one of those where were you moments, and students at Carolina are no different. Caitlin Covington helps us remember.
Kelsey Rice, a senior from Charlotte, remembers exactly where she was when she heard the news.
I was in 6th grade in my science classroom. We were just having class, and I think we heard an announcement come over the intercom.
And just blew out the plaza we were on.
And like most people, there's one image from that day that sticks in her mind.
The image of the plane crashing into the building, just a little clip that they showed on the news with all the black smoke coming out of the towers.
It's hard to forget those smoldering towers. It's hard to forget the heartbreaking stories. Sophomore Allie Engel was living in New York at the time.
My neighbor across the street he worked in the city, and because the subway system was down, he had to walk all the way from the city home, so he got home with debris all over him at like 3 or 4 in the morning.
10 years ago, students gathered in Polk Place to grieve and to support each other. Faculty Chair Jan Boxell remembers what it was like.
I think when we saw the towers crumble is when people began hugging one another and thinking, oh my God, there's like 3,000 people in there.
This is Polk Place today, 10 years later. But what has changed, and what should we take away from that day?
I think it's important that as Americans, we remember what our country has gone through, what we've suffered together, and how we were able to come out of something so terrible and kind of use it for good.
And we will never forget. In Chapel Hill, I'm Caitlin Covington, Carolina Week.
There will be all kinds of events as the nation remembers. This week on campus, the group College Republicans will decorate Polk Place with miniature flags to represent those who lost their lives. Also on September 12th, former member of the Homeland Security will be giving a speech at the Global Center. For more information, you can log on to our website, carolinaweek.org.
Discrimination and university recognition. It's not a new issue. Every year it seems we're talking about it, and this year is no different. This time it has to do with a singing group called Psalm 100 and the dismissal of a gay member. Adam Schreiner is live with the story.
I'm standing in front of Carroll Hall, which is the performance space for Psalm 100. This performance space is one of the perks of being a student organization on campus. But being officially recognized means that you're bound by the non-discrimination policy. If the university finds that Psalm 100 violated the non-discrimination policy, that means that they could lose their concert venue as well as funding. Psalm 100 dismissed Will Thomason, who is gay. Will Thomason was entering his fourth year with the group, and I spoke with him.
Yeah, I'm definitely disappointed with the events that occurred, but knowing what happened and what might happen in the future, I'm hoping that we can just have some dialogue about it and really talk about it, put it out in the open.
Psalm 100 declined an interview with me. The Office of Student Affairs and officials with the student union are investigating the case. No word just when the investigation will be finished.
Michael McAdoo is back in the news tonight. The university is saying the lawsuit he brought against the school should be dismissed. McAdoo was the defensive end who was forced to sit out last season, accused of plagiarism and receiving improper benefits. The NCAA later ruled him permanently ineligible. University lawyers contend that since McAdoo has signed a pro contract, his lawsuit is meaningless. McAdoo, as you will recall, was also a subject for the university's honor court. And there are big changes in the system tonight, changes in how it works. And those calls are coming from faculty members. Aaron Holcomb has the story.
UNC history professor Jay Smith has been at work on the honor court system for nearly 2 years. The chancellor asked Smith to head a committee to evaluate the system. And what he found was disturbing to some. Nearly a third of UNC faculty say they feel disengaged from the honor court. Smith says the committee wants to improve the system by injecting faculty participation.
I think many faculty feel disengaged from the system. They see the reality, which is that the critical decisions are going to be made by students without faculty input.
Smith says dealing with the honor court can be time-consuming and frustrating.
I submitted a complaint or an allegation about a student in October. It wasn't until February that the case was resolved. That's a long time to wait for justice.
Not so fast, says Dean of Students Jonathan Sauls.
A fast decision is not necessarily a good decision. We do have a duty to work efficiently and responsibly, but I'm most invested in seeing that we have the greatest opportunity to get it right.
Sauls worries about the effect adding faculty input would have on the honor court.
Really value student self-governance and how that might erode or change if we significantly change the system.
Smith's committee will report back to the chancellor as early as mid-September. In Chapel Hill, I'm Aaron Holcomb, Carolina Week.
Now, the same professor who failed to find plagiarism in a paper by former UNC football player Michael McAdoo has stepped down as head of UNC's Afro-American Studies Department. Julius Yamoro also failed to inform the university that he had hired a sports agent to teach a class this summer. That was apparently enough for the university. Yamoro is no longer the head of the department, but he will continue to be on the faculty. More on the honor court tonight, a robbery. Garrett Haywood will be back in court December 9th. The UNC student is facing charges of breaking into the honor court and stealing student records. Public safety is not sure of the motive, but officials are saying tonight that the break-in is not connected with the NCAA investigation.
Anna Tramble is among the many college freshmen who are coming in smarter than ever. We'll have her story next.
You ever think about buying a bigger place?
Just waiting for a visit from the credit fairy.
There is no credit fairy.
How else will I get a better credit score?
Look, you keep your credit card balances low and only open a new card if you really need it.
No ferry?
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditferry.org.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. All those boys are much too much. Those boys.
Welcome back, and a special welcome to our new freshman class, or first years, here to the university. There is a lot to know about this group of almost 4,000, but one thing definitely stands out. They're very, very smart.
Freshman Anna Tramble is from Hickory. She fits the mold for the perfect incoming freshman. She graduated salutatorian, is an active volunteer, and did a slew of extracurriculars. But
I was deferred to start out with, and so then I got accepted when the regular admission.
A report from admissions says the freshman class just keeps getting smarter. This year, the average SAT score rose 20 points, the median ACT score up 1 point, and nearly 80% of students were in the top 10% of their high school class.
Another important topic from the facts is diversity. Black students make up only 11% of the freshman population, but in North Carolina, they make up nearly 22%.
So we're working towards mirroring that. Of course, absolutely, we want qualified students here, but we're seeing qualified students from all ethnicities and cultural backgrounds.
And university officials say they are making progress. This year, there's a 30% increase in international students. But still, nearly half of all students admitted don't choose Carolina. Trample says she's lucky money isn't an issue for her, but knows several students who went to Duke for financial reasons.
She wouldn't have received probably any money if she would have came here unless she would have gotten the Moorhead or something like that.
But for many students who are being offered merit scholarships at other universities, we're trying to increase the number of those opportunities.
And despite the troubled economy, UNC gave out 262 merit-based scholarships totaling $2.8 million this year alone. Still, the university is proud to say,
best value in the nation for the top 10 for the past 10 years.
And that's something they hope won't change anytime soon.
Well, great value or not, tuition in the UNC system has gone up 150% in the past 10 years and 40% in the past 3 years. Schools in the system are looking at tuition models of peer universities, and that could mean tuition will go up even more. Danielle Tepper has the story.
Junior Nicole Pradell is a Miami native and pays out-of-state tuition, more than $36,000 a year. She chose to attend UNC based on the school's academic reputation and affordability, but she's thought about leaving.
I seriously considered not coming back for the fall semester. I also looked into possibly transferring back to one of the state schools in Florida because they are obviously a lot cheaper for me.
Although she has decided to stay, Pradell says she'll be in for trouble if tuition goes up again, and that's a real possibility. State budgets are expected to remain tight, and the UNC system is looking at tuition models of similar universities that may suggest raising tuition even more. UNC President Tom Ross.
We're not eager to raise tuition. I don't think anybody in North Carolina wants to raise tuition. We know we might have to.
Administrators are in the process of creating a new list of peer universities, schools comparable to UNC. If tuitions at the other schools are high enough, UNC system schools might increase their tuitions as well. Ross says the purpose of such a hike would be to maintain the university's academic reputation.
It's regarded as excellent, and so we've got to do what's necessary to maintain that. That's the most important treasure we have.
Pradell also treasures her education, and if tuition goes up, she'll have to give up studying abroad to find another job on campus. She says the most frustrating part is having no say in the matter.
The university is just making all these decisions for us without hearing a real story, someone who's struggling to pay.
Pradell will have to wait to find out about the school's tuition decision, and it's uncertain when that'll be. Until then, she'll continue searching for a job to pay for this year. For Carolina Week, I'm Danielle Tepper.
President Ross says the system will try to keep any tuition increases as low as possible.
And changes could be happening elsewhere, and it would be a big change if students had to start paying for personal interviews. That's right, the university may start charging for time on sites like Facebook if you're on the UNC network. There's no decision yet, but during budget cuts, it's a definite possibility.
If campus seemed a little dirty on Friday, it's because some housekeepers weren't doing much cleaning. Housekeepers and students rallied outside of South Building around noon, holding signs urging for more respect for the workers. The group says it wants the Assistant Director of Housekeeping Services, Tanya Sell, reassigned. They say her management style is abusive. The university has received complaints about threats to employees, forging signatures, and verbal abuse. PRM Consulting Group has been hired to address the issue. A rally also on campus around the monument Silent Sam and what it represents. Groups want the statue removed and more distance placed between UNC and its connection to slavery and the Civil War. Through speeches and poetry, members of the Real Silent Sam movement say the monument is a symbol of white supremacy and inequality.
Another protest tonight, this one from the college Republicans. The organization just asked Student Congress for $20,000 to fund a campus speech by conservative pundit Ann Coulter. Congress would only give the group $5,000. The event scheduled for September 20th was canceled. Greg Steele, chair of the college Republicans, joined us live in our satellite studio. Hi, Greg. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Preston. Thanks so much for having me.
Now, why do you think you're not being given the funding that you guys have requested?
Well, I believe, obviously, as a lot of the earlier stories said, there's no doubt that we are in a recession. The university has had to make cutbacks, and as a student representative, we also realize that. However, we do feel that the money that we were allocated was not a fair portion to what we should have been given. Quite frankly, we have never asked a group to receive or to have $15,000 placed in the fundraising category. There's been some discrepancy of whether we can place $10,000 or $20,000 in the fundraising category for the whole year. So if it's that $10,000 figure, then we've already surpassed that just on our one group. We don't feel that that's fair. As Student Congress, we're there to support groups, and $15,000 in fundraising is not the way to do that.
Now, is this a first-time issue, or have the college Republicans ever been denied funds like this in the past?
Not in my experience. Last year we came and we received $15,000 for Call Rove. It was a great event. Yes, that was another large request, and we realized that this time around, that is a large request, and we are willing to work with the university to make this happen. But we do have precedents of receiving amounts close to that amount at least, and other groups certainly have received that much and more.
Now, you say these other groups, and that kind of goes back to the fairness issue. What is that other groups or who have received the money that maybe you don't think is fair?
Well, we had an annual budget in the spring, and a lot of groups came through, obviously asking for a lot of money to set for the whole year. If we're talking about equality and fairness, then I have to look to my colleagues at the Young Democrats. I did vote to allocate them $16,000. To use throughout the year, and perhaps they will use that. They have it budgeted out, and I don't want to misspeak on where that money's going. But I do believe they're going to use that throughout the year, certainly throughout the semester. I went to Congress and asking for a similar, very comparable amount for a very comparable group. Our numbers have grown substantially in the past 2 years. And for us to be given $15,000 to be paid back, that's not quite equality, in my opinion.
And so finally, you guys are holding this protest. What are you hoping the outcome will be?
Well, we're hoping to start over, and we are looking at different fundraising options so that we can come back to the university with a fair amount, something that we can make happen. So we're hoping to get a fair shot and see what happens next time around.
All right, Greg, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight with your input. Now, Student Body President Mary Cooper did not return our calls about the issue.
New parking meters in Chapel Hill may mean you won't have to search in your couch for lost change. The town installed solar-powered charged pay stations to replace the traditional parking meters downtown. Chapel Hill allotted $320,000 for what they call environmental and user-friendly meters. The cost of parking did not go up, and you can use credit cards or cash to pay for your spot. And if you can't find a parking spot downtown, there's an app for that. The mobile app maker IAVAorg has offered Chapel Hill a new way to find parking. It lists the time the spot is in service and the price for parking there. IAVAorg usually sells the app for $25,000, but it's giving it to the town for free. The app should be available on iPhones and Androids in the next few days.
Well, you know, I got caught in the rain trying to park yesterday. It was just pouring, but it looks like things are finally starting to calm down around here.
I sure hope so. Weathercaster Drew Day is joining us next. He'll let us know.
Listen to Uncle Johannes. Eisenbahns make you grow up smart and successful so you can be a doctor, lawyer, handsome, genius composer. Like me.
Feed your kids the arts. Visit AmericansForTheArts.org. Treat your family to Van Gogurt, packed with live and active culture to boost kids' math and reading skills.
It's sure to satisfy your hunger for inspiration.
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
All right, welcome back to Carolina Week, everybody. I'm Drew Day. Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's go ahead and take a look at your weather headlines. As was mentioned before the break, it was definitely a much quieter day outside today than it was yesterday. There were several tornado watches and warnings that were issued. Luckily, however, there were no actual tornadoes reported. There were just a few funnel clouds and a little bit of damage, but thankfully no official tornadoes were reported. And it is active in the tropics right now. We have Hurricane Katia and Tropical Storm Maria out in the Atlantic right now. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But taking a look at some rainfall amounts from yesterday, in Raleigh they had 1.59, that's almost an inch and 2/3 of an inch of rain. In Fayetteville they had 86 hundredths, and there were some lighter amounts along the coast. Now this was yesterday's amounts where they didn't receive any rainfall there yesterday. Much of the rain and thunderstorm activity in the state has been shifted to the coast today, so they are receiving rain right now. Even Wilmington saw almost an inch of rain yesterday as well. As we take a look at the satellite as it stands out there right now, or this was an image from earlier this morning, and you can see that it's pretty much remained the same throughout the day. We've seen some patchy clouds across the area, but it hasn't stopped the sunlight from coming through at all today. So it was just a very nice day outside. Again, you can see the clouds associated with those storms along the coast. As we take a look at the tropics right now, you can see that we have Hurricane Katia out here. Here is the east coast right here, and here's the North Carolina shore. And here is Katia right now. It is a Category 1 hurricane with winds at 80 miles per hour. And another system that we're watching right now is Tropical Storm Maria. It's a little bit farther out in the Atlantic right now, but the good news is that we don't anticipate that either of these storms will affect us whatsoever. As we take a look at the forecast tracks, this is Katia right here, and it's almost at the same parallel with Florida right now, but it will continue to push off to the north for the next several days, and then of course move on out into the great graveyard of Atlantic storms where there's much cooler water and they just dissipate instantly. And here is Maria farther to the south, but you can see it will continue to take a more westerly track and it will not affect us whatsoever. At least that's the thinking right now, but that could change. So be sure to tune in next week as well for the latest on Maria. Taking a look at the surface map, we had this frontal boundary across the state. That's what led to the showers along the coast today, but we were dry here. You can even see Katia offshore here. And for the next few days, that frontal system stays in the eastern part of the state, but we just don't expect any rain around here at all on tomorrow or Friday, as well as Katia stays well offshore and will not affect us whatsoever. Taking a look at the forecast for tonight, then, it'll be a very pleasant evening out there with 64 degrees. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, light winds across the area with 83. And breaking tomorrow down just a little bit further so you know what to expect throughout the day. By 8 a.m., 65, 79 by noon, and 73 by 8 p.m. So tomorrow will definitely be a great day, just like it was today. Taking a look at the 5-day forecast now, again, we'll warm up as we head into the weekend with near 90-degree temperatures once again, but overall, no rain and much quieter weather.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Drew.
You're welcome.
Well, ahead in sports, we'll get to know the new head football coach. That and more, all coming up next.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. IAVA.org. We've got your back.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Andy Reeves. Carolina's new starting quarterback got off to a hot start in the Heels opener. Quarterback Bryn Renner was just one pass shy of setting an NCAA record for completion percentage in his debut Saturday, going 22 of 23. There you see him hitting Christian Wilson, and there he is firing a pass to Ryan Houston. His lone incompletion was this interception. Nevertheless, he led the Heels to a dominating victory over James Madison, 42-10. UNC's starting fullback Devin Ramsey is out for the season after this gruesome knee injury. Will slow it down so you can get a better look. Ouch. Ramsey tore his ACL and MCL and will have surgery at UNC hospitals next week. The university says it will pursue a 6th year of eligibility for the redshirt senior. Pre-game, Butch Davis wasn't the only one missing at the team's Old Well Walk. There you see Coach Withers getting off the team bus, but Chancellor Holden Thorpe was nowhere to be found. Thorpe traditionally walked alongside Butch Davis, but chose to stay away from the limelight for Withers' opener. And if you didn't get a chance to meet the new coach at the Well Walk, we've got you covered. Reporter Sierra Watkins tells us more about the new coach.
This is Everett Withers, the man who took over as head coach of the Tar Heels. And according to him, his job makes it easy to wake up in the morning.
You can go to work every day and you can enjoy getting up at 5 in the morning and coming in here and going home at 10 at night, but you still like what you do, then it's important.
Running back Ryan Houston says the transition from Davis to Withers was easy.
When we heard Everett Withers was going to be our coach, we didn't, drop our head or anything. It was just, we just got back to business.
For Withers, it's not just about the game. It's about outside factors, the same factors that got North Carolina in trouble in the first place. And so he's closely monitoring players. Radio talk show host David Glenn says the pressure to win without off-the-field drama is huge for the new coach.
He's going to have a good 2011 football season. He certainly has a good personality. He seems to connect well with alumni and the media and with his own players. But as that unknown commodity and never being a head coach before,
right now, it's all about being a head coach.
Felt good. I mean, obviously it's my first time doing it, and but I felt comfortable doing it. I had no problems doing it, and I'm looking forward to the next time I get to run off and shake somebody's hand that loses against us.
For Carolina Week, I'm Sierra Watkins.
From sports to sushi in a college dining hall, we have the story next.
If you have a story idea, call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week and Carolina Connection online at carolinaweek.org.
Lenore Dining Hall had a facelift over the summer, and there has definitely been buzz on campus. As you ride up the escalator up to the top of Lenore, this is the new view and the new food. That's right, Lenore now has a sushi bar. Renovations also include TV screens featuring daily choices and nutrition facts, and 200 extra seats. Plus, more vegetarian options like this portobello mushroom cheese sandwich. We're hearing most students say they like the new variety and the new layout.
Well, that sushi looks good to me.
Sure does. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.